Welcome back, everybody. Episode 3 of
Episode 3 of Ideas to Income.
There you go.
We got it.
Yeah. All right. So let's start off with feedback that we got. What do you think?
We only got a couple feedbacks.
Yeah.
One was we needed to put pricing in there somewhere.
I can see where people are interested in like what it would cost to get started.
Yeah. That's interesting.
Another bit of feedback is that people are saying that the intros are too long, but you know what? You know what I'm going to do now? Make the intros longer.
Yeah.
Just kidding.
Maybe it hurt my feelings that they don't want to hear me talk.
Yeah. Actually, I had a couple of people say that they liked your voice, so maybe you should talk more.
It says my customer service voice. Just kidding.
All right. Let's get into it, shall we?
Okay. Yeah.
So this episode I interviewed. I'm not even try to pronounce her name.
No.
But the owner of King Kabob in the Provo Mall. So I've been friends with her. I was a regular there for a very long time. I really like that. Basically, they serve Greek food. So that what they do is they serve like gyros and shawarma and things like that. She also makes baklava, and she makes
the best baklava and chocolates.
Yeah, she makes Belgian chocolates.
My favorite.
Yeah, she like makes them there. She makes like salt versions and the dark chocolate. She makes all kinds. But I'm a regular. I used to be regular there. I need to go there more often. So I asked her if I could interview her, and she said sure. And she was like, we could do it today. And so that was the first time I had somebody want to interview right away. But I didn't have my equipment, so I waited a day.
Went back.
And I got these microphones. Yeah. And so the quality
is better. Way better.
Is so much better.
So much.
So things to prep people for, to listen to. Do you want to start? Like things that you want to prep everybody?
Things about King Kabob. You have to listen because she gives a lot of detail. That's what I've learned from her. She's very detail oriented and she's very passionate about what she does. I think that was a good thing.
A couple of highlights on the MBA side is that she was a very small acquisition. So this is the first, like, not the original owner. She purchased the company, but when I say acquisition and purchase, I mean, this is micro scale. Like somebody owned the company. It was a one-person shop, and then she purchased it. So it's an acquisition nonetheless, but it's a very tiny one. Other things is that there's a lot of trust management that we'll talk about afterwards. She goes over some challenges of the business.
There's that, but there's also like the customer and the location. That's something we can talk about after.
Yeah. And again, going with the brand loyalty that we talked about in the last couple ones. I mean, she represents King Kabob, you know. Yeah. And so it's really difficult to get employees to be able to hold that brand you'll hear about.
Yeah.
But those are kind of the big things. Now, keep in mind that this is a restaurant inside of the mall. And as everybody knows, the Provo Mall isn't doing well. So you'll hear a little bit about her challenges of running a store within a mall that's had slower and slower foot traffic.
Yeah, I think it would be nice if the Provo Mall could hold places, but it's nice to see that even through all the challenges that the Provo Mall has had, that like she's been able to stay. I mean, there has been challenges, of course, but over the last, few years, but she's able to do it and keep like bringing the business is there. Yeah. And that's something that she talks about that I hope that you guys will listen to and enjoy.
Yeah. All right. So without further ado, we'll just move into the interview.
Perfect. Let's get started.
All right. So this is King Kabob in the Provo Mall. All right, so hello everybody. We are with what's your name?
Kyung Hee Young.
Okay, that's why I can't pronounce it. From King Kabob in Provo Mall. It's one of the places where you can get the best sandwiches I've ever had. And
Thank you.
And so I asked her yesterday if I could interview her because, as we know, I like to interview small businesses. Like, I'm trying to help entrepreneurs, especially like people in my MBA class, when they start to think about what's my first step? Like, how do I branch out? I kind of like to do these interviews. It kind of helps them out. In fact, I was talking to somebody about this, and they were having the same. They were a small business. They're like, I want to hear what other small businesses are doing. So it's kind of really entertaining for me, anyway. So, so can you take us back to like the beginning, like when you first kind of had this idea of doing this kind of cuisine? Like, what was that kind of original thought process?
Well, it kind of fell on my lap. I came to United States long time ago as a student, and while I was going to school, I worked part-time, working at a restaurant. And after I graduated from college, I managed bigger companies in San Diego. And when I moved to Utah, I was a full-time housewife focusing on family lives. And after 4 or 5 years later, I kind of needed to earn extra money to help my folks in Korea. So I got a job at Panda Express as a manager, and I was placed in Provo Town Center. And I worked for a year and a half, and during that time I got to know the previous owner who set up this store. Became like a friends because we saw each other every day. And one day when they bought a house in Logan, and they didn't want to keep the store, and they also back then had 2 toddlers, so it was a little bit too much for them to manage. So they asked me if I wanted to buy his store. My husband and I, we really liked his food here, and we were the regular customers here. So I spoke with my husband, and I decided to be a owner of the small business.
Oh,
So that's how we started it. I didn't really pursue it. I got lucky in a way, and it fell on my laps, and
yeah.
I took the chance.
Well, it's been good. I mean,
It was good until COVID.
yeah. And I know that businesses like it's have this kind of like rocky start sometimes, but sometimes you'll get that aha moment where like I actually think this is actually going to make some good money. Like, I mean, did you guys ever have that kind of feeling? Like, did it get better, or has it been just kind of?
We raised the sales first couple of years, and it went really well. But the mall, the location, the foot traffic at the mall started to decline. And when we bought the store, originally we had a kind of bigger idea, bigger plan. We wanted to expand right away for 2, 3, 4 stores, but we got kind of stuck here with one store. So and after that COVID hit, and the timing was never right, and yeah, and we're here with still one store. And there's no aha moment, but I had a background in restaurant business, so
Yeah.
I had a lot of knowledge and experience already in me for 20 years prior to it. So I worked hard, and I raised the sales, and it did well for a while.
Okay. Well, I mean, like from the outside, I mean, this is a store inside the mall. It's a fast food establishment. It sells sandwiches like that. But what are some things that people don't realize that make this thing run?
People probably have a kind of envious idea that, oh, you have your own business, but you have a lot of more responsibilities that people don't know.
Yeah.
Like when COVID hits, I have to take the hit.
Right.
if I had worked for other people, I wouldn't be so worried about the business. I would coast and just take it easy, use the time to rest and kind of take it as a vacation time. But you have a lot of responsibilities for sales and food costs and the employees, so it's not as pretty as it looks.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people kind of think, oh, this is going to be simple.
And you are going to be in charge.
The meat just magically appears. All this stuff just magically appears.
You're going to be in charge and you can do whatever you want. But until your business gets big, you are kind of a slave to the store, because when you don't have a lot of manpower, you tend to, I always end up taking all the lousy shifts after my employees took whatever they can or want. For example, like holidays, weekends, When I hired them, they gave me the commitments that they are going to work on weekends and holidays, Christmas, but after 2-3 months, they seem to forget what they promised. So they requested, whole Thanksgiving week off or a Christmas week off and things like that. It does happen actually every year.
Oh man!
From different employees. Now, I'm not talking about a certain one employee does it or every year. No, it's a lot of people do that. Young people these days.
Yeah.
So I end up working crazy on holidays and Christmas time and weekends. I hire people so I could take my times spending with my family, but it kind of goes the other way around, seems like.
That's something interesting to know, right? I mean, you can't just always count on employees.
You're not going to be in power. I feel like I'm not in power with the scheduling and things like that, even though I'm the owner.
Interesting. The first year, when businesses first start, that first year, it's kind of like a roller coaster. There's always kind of things that you're learning. What were some of the biggest challenges or hurdles that you had to get over on that first couple of years, and how that kind of help you progress the way you're doing things now?
The hurdle is always people.
It's people?
I'm not talking about customers. I'm talking about employees.
Oh.
I always have good, nice employees. Always have good people. I don't usually hire people outside of our boundaries. I always look for people whom we know, or the people's whom we know, the people's friends or family members, or I look for employees from church or our team. My husband runs a team, water polo teams. So I don't usually hire people from outside of our boundaries. I always have good, honest people. But still, like I said,
they're still not reliable.
They're not reliable still, even though they are good people. We had great people, there is not all that bad or anything. I had all the people that I had, they're good people.
Yeah.
But still, the scheduling and taking time off is a big thing. I cannot really go for vacation.
Right. We're just kind of stuck here.
Yes, I'm stuck here. I used to have a manager, and he damaged the store quite a bit. So I kind of have a hard time trusting people with my business.
Right. Absolutely. Yeah. So looking back at when the company started, knowing what you know now, would there be something different you would have done? Is there anything that you were like, man, I wish I would have done this, or I wish I would have done that?
Well, like I said, with the people-wise, I did my best back then, and I don't think I could have done any different, because I was always so cautious hiring people. And a lot of them were successful. It was successful to hire a lot of people that we had. But I think it's the culture with the young generation have. They're not as hungry as I used to be when I was young person.
I've met a lot of people that are like that. There's a lot of auto mechanics. They're like, they don't troubleshoot anymore. They just buy new parts and install it. They don't really like fix anything. They just
The
want to
culture
do
is
the
different. Definitely.
short-term solutions. They don't really want to,
Yes.
see it through. I don't know how to fix that, you know?
Yeah, COVID was a big hurdle, but for me, having putting people at my store is the bigger hurdle for me over 10 years.
Yeah.
Has been.
Yeah, it's got to be a challenge.
Yeah. For COVID, everybody suffered, and I'm not just only one,
Right. Because they closed everything. Everybody was.
Yes, but the
But
people.
the bills don't stop, and
Yeah, I want to. Yeah, sometimes when I had hard days, I just want to get out of the store. I get out of the having a business. It is so hard. So it can be really hard sometimes.
Yeah. Sometimes the people that have the grit are the ones that the determination are the ones that get it through, because people quit, and it's hard. It's not easy.
When I was younger, the culture, when I was in my 20s, going to college, working for other people, I remember that I and my friend and we were all so hungry to work, to get more shift, more hours, to pay for the bills, but I don't really see that much in young generation these days.
I wonder what happened.
I'm sure that there are good, hardworking young people out there, but
yeah. Now here I noticed that the mall is slowing down, and I'm not sure if they had a Target that they added to this mall, but I don't know if that added any foot traffic.
Much, because they blocked the way to come into the mall from Target. After shopping at Target, they cannot come into the mall, so they have to drive around to come to the main section of the mall. So I don't see that it helps much.
Sometimes I see it get better, and then but most of the times I see it slowing down. The other mall's doing pretty okay, but I don't know what they're
Saturday,
doing.
we do well, especially Saturday with a farmers market happening downstairs. The mall brings a lot of people. But Monday through Thursday, it is pretty slow, but I have had my business for 10 years, and so we have a lot of regular customers who they said that they come to the mall just for us.
Yeah.
So
that's definitely my case.
That's the only reason that we are still survived here. We are still alive here.
One thing is that my company would do large orders for our Thursday lunches and stuff like that from here as well.
Yeah, we do.
This is one of my favorites.
We do have catering.
What's a customer story that really highlights the impact that the business has done for people?
Good and bad, A lot of I have met a lot of good people here, especially in Utah County. People are so nice. I'm from California.
Okay.
The clienteles are different. Culture is different.
Yeah, I'm from California as well, so I know.
I have dealt with a lot of not nice customers in California as a manager, but here I don't see that much. But I think it's slipping in Utah. It's getting worse.
To move in.
It's getting worse and worse.
Yeah,
for example, yesterday, I caught a woman, maybe in her late 20s, early 30s. She came to my soda machine with her tumbler and refilled it, and I caught her, and I made her dump it, and she got mad at me, and she complained to her friends about me, and I could tell that she was talking bad about me, looking at me with nasty eyes.
Yeah.
And talking to her friends with gestures.
Because she was stealing and she got caught?
She got caught, and I made her dump the soda.
Yeah.
And she got mad at me. So I didn't have that kind of people a lot 10 years ago, but I see it more and more. And people in the past, when they get caught, they feel shame, but now they even get mad at me. So
that's something
but we have a lot of good regular customers who worry about my business, and they try to help me as much as they can, bringing their friends and family members and introduce our store, online, like Facebook or Google, and Yelp. So
It
it
is
is.
it's a diamond in the rough. It's one of those places that is really good, but you don't know it exists until somebody tells you, you know?
I know people.
So-
This kind of food is still kind of new concept to Utah people. I
Yeah.
feel like
It's hard to get Greek food anywhere, though.
not
so
many people know about
Yeah.
shawarma, gyro,
Mhm.
the Greek food,
It's really, really good. So
and it's
And the
healthy.
sauces you guys have
That's
are-
why I took over. It's not only tastes good, but it's healthy foods. That's why I believe in the product. So I took over.
yeah,
Yeah.
that's great. So running a business requires focus and dedication. Like, what are some daily habits that you have that help you stay focused and keep that drive going?
I think it's also people.
People,
Yes.
people energize you. You
Yes. A lot of, in the morning when I come here. Actually, before I come here, a lot of time go shop at Sam's Club, and some people over there are so friendly and became my friends. And when I come to work, and it's not always easy, especially when you get older, it's physical work. Your body, declines the ability. So it's hard. It's a hard work, but great people show up and show me great love and support, and that gets me going.
Oh, good. That's great. I'm glad that you have that support system. So, if you weren't doing this, what kind of career aspirations would you be doing? What kind of passions? What kind of stuff that you would be doing instead of this?
Well, I was always a family person, so I probably would have focused on family, doing a lot of cooking, gardening, sewing, things like that at home, which I got to do right after we came to Utah. I didn't work for 4 years, and I focused on family, gardening, cooking, canning. I enjoyed it so much, so I probably would have done it if I hadn't had this store.
Has there been any unusual or memorable requests from customers? Has anybody asked you for things that were just kind of odd or strange? It's more of a fun question.
Yeah, once in a while, people ask a lot, to make food a lot differently. Like, one of the other thing is that they want to deconstruct way of shawarma or gyro.
Mm-hmm.
And grill some vegetables, which we don't do it.
Oh yeah, grilling vegetables.
Yes.
I would see that.
The
yeah.
thing is that deconstructing food is you don't do that at In-N-Out, right? You
Right.
don't do it at Carl's Jr. or McDonald's, but
Right.
once in a while people show up and they ask for it, and I have to kindly decline it because the food is not going to be the same, and also the food cost. If we make 3 shawarmas and deconstruct it do it that way, then we have to put a lot more material
Yeah.
on the side separately, and I don't know if even I put enough more material if it's going to make them happy, because I don't trust them. They put right ratio of this and that, or the sauce balance of the food. I don't know, but some people request
art.
that and cannot really say yes to them. I have done it before for some customers, and I always kind of regretted it. I should have
Yeah.
done it because the presentation is bad. We put more food, so the food cost is higher, and I don't know how they treat the food how long they're going to be out, on the road before they eat it, and a lot of what is there,
Yeah.
especially sauce. If you put sauce in a hot car, how long they're going to put it, in a car in summertime.
Yeah, and how long will it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Can you get
so-
it to a fridge in time?
Yes, so yeah, those kind of requests I get it once in a while, and I have to nicely declined that because, like I said, my logic is that you
Yeah.
go to In-N-Out and ask them to separate all the ingredients and
No.
to take it home.
No, it's chemistry. I mean, you're building something. You don't want to screw up that chemistry, right?
Yes.
All cooking is like that. What's a significant lesson that you've learned the hard way when you're running this business? That maybe that influenced your approach on how you do business.
Learn things in a hard way with experience with people again. Business, it doesn't give me a hard time. It's just I'm worried about the sales and the foot traffic at the mall and things like that. But it's always people who makes me really happy and who makes me feel really discouraged.
Yeah.
People dealing with people is hard.
Yeah.
Period.
Yeah. People
Yeah.
make it
Dealing
difficult.
with your employees hard, even though they're good people.
Right.
Making scheduling, make schedule and
Being kind.
yeah, and encourage them when we had not nice customers, and things like that. So I don't know, learning things in a hard way. The thing is that, like I said, I went through a lot of business experience by managing other people's business, so nothing's really new to me
Okay.
to run my own business.
And
Do
that
you
probably
understand what I'm saying?
kind of helped you, right? Like
It helps because
you
I
came in
didn't
with
have
the
anything unexpected things happen to me.
Yeah.
I've been there, done that by managing other people's
Yeah.
business. So
And you see that a lot. My brother's an electrician. He was working in an electrician company, and then he left, and so he took that knowledge of how to run a business, sort of,
yeah.
and got it up on its
So
feet.
one of
things
the
like that.
reason that the previous owner to sell this store to me was that it was their first restaurant business. It was too much for them.
Oh, okay.
So they kind of got overwhelmed. So they wanted to get rid of it.
Yeah.
But when I took over, I had 20 years of restaurant business experience. So nothing was really new to me.
Okay. What advice would you offer someone who is thinking about doing something like this?
It's a good experience. It's a very good experience to be your own boss, have your own company, even though it's small company.
Yeah.
It's a great experience. You grow a lot, you learn a lot, and I have grown a lot,
Yeah, I bet.
but it's not easy.
Yeah. So what's your vision of the future of King Kabob? You think you're gonna be around a little bit longer, or you think?
I don't know. We'll see.
We'll
We'll
see?
see. The thing is that it's nice to have your own business, but until it gets really big, you have to work really hard, long hours. You have to sacrifice your family. Last 10 years, I was able to have a family trip no more than twice. And they were short family trips, like 5 days, 4 days trips. So when you start your own business, it's a good thing that you push yourself to become a bigger person because of the new experience that you are going to have. But you need to kind of think the other side of the coin too, that you have to sacrifice something.
Yeah. Yeah.
So in the future with the King Kabob, I don't know. I hope that some days I can retire. Someday soon I can retire and focus on my family again, having
Yeah.
a family life.
Are you
back.
ever gonna think about expanding again, or maybe
I don't-
moving or something, or?
I think 30 years of restaurant business experience is enough.
Is there any other small businesses you think on my journey of doing this kind of podcasting thing that you would recommend I would interview? Do you
I would
know anybody?
definitely recommend some kind of dessert business.
Okay.
It doesn't require a lot of training because my store, to get my employees going by themselves, without my being here to help them. If they work independently, it takes about a month and a half.
Okay.
If not, if they are not working every day, if they come and work 3-4 shifts a week, it takes about 5-6 weeks to fully train them. But when you have a drink business, dessert business, the training process is really easy, and your employees can handle it by themselves without your being there all the time. So, and food cost is better. I
Yeah.
learned. So
So do you have any suggestion on who I should interview next?
maybe Chechepoba.
Yeah, Chachabuwa. Okay.
They-
That's a small business as well.
Small business, but they have several different businesses.
Yeah.
So-
Okay.
Yeah, the owners are not there.
Right. Okay.
Usually employees run the business.
Oh, I had to track them down then.
Yeah,
Okay.
you should.
Okay, cool. I really like doing this. So, for those who haven't experienced King Kabob, or who are listening to this and are interested in it, like self-advertisement. I mean, what do you guys provide? Why should they come check you out?
We provide, first of all, it is a healthy food. The menus that we have are mostly, the main menus are healthy food. We serve fresh vegetable and healthy chicken breast and lamb and beef and beef shish kebab. And I learned that by running this business, I learned that healthy food can taste good too, and the dressings are good. And the other things that I like to advertise about my business is that it's kind of still rare in Utah County at least. So it's a little bit different kind of food. There's good things and bad things about different kind of food because it's different. People don't know and they don't come look for us. But once they taste the food, a lot of them become my regular customers and they keep coming. So.
Yeah, she also has homemade chocolates and baklava and all kinds of different things as
Yes.
well. It's really good. I really like this place. I really appreciate you taking your time
Well,
talking to
thank
me
you.
about this.
Thank you.
I know a lot of people learn a lot about this, and there's a lot of questions that people have, and hopefully this will satisfy their questions. So thanks again.
Well, thank you.
All right.
Have a nice day.
Welcome back, everybody. I hope that you guys enjoyed that interview and that you learned stuff about King Kabob and where it came from and how it originated. I kind of got the feeling that it was kind of handed to her,
Sort of.
sort of.
I mean, she was a regular at the place. Mm-hmm. She was a manager at the. So
Panda.
you've been to the Provo Mall, right?
Yeah.
And right next to her establishment is the
Panda Express.
Panda Express, and she was a manager there.
Yeah.
And she was a regular at this place, and then the place offered her to sell.
Yeah.
And so she took it and moved over one spot. So
And we're going to go back and analyze a couple of things because she talked about the location and the business part of it and kind of how we talked about how the Provo Mall is kind of dead. And, there's not a whole lot there. I really think sometimes the only thing that holds it together about 90% of the time is the movie theater. But she talked about how it's slow during the week.
yeah,
Busier on the weekends, busier when there's stuff going on downstairs and people want to get something to eat.
yeah, it's a very strange dynamic. That I don't know what's going on with that mall. I know that they built hotels around it, and then they have that new Target, and the Target has a distribution center underneath it.
Yeah, but the Target's not connected, so that also has hurt
Right.
a lot of the mall.
But it's not a normal mall anymore. It's a mall that has
A lot of everything.
a lot of everything. They have an arcade in there. They have a lot of karate studios, and they have that baseball,
They have a tattoo place.
tattoo places. They've
Yeah, it's
got
kind of weird.
a lot of Dungeons and Dragons kind of type things, though I've seen a lot of those come and go. There's that retro store in there. I mean, it's got a lot of not a normal mall. There are a
Yeah.
lot of like painting stores and stuff. I saw a studio last time I went in there. So,
But
but it's not foot traffic like it used to be,
yeah, it's not.
People would go to the mall and just kind of wander. Now they go for a purpose, like they go to this dance studio or whatever, right? And then they go in and they get out. But I don't like she was discussing about opening a different location. I think they would do very well, probably in the Orem Mall
I think they
or up
would
in
too.
Salt Lake. She made it a point to talk about how that style of food isn't like well known here. Like people really don't know Greek food that well. And so maybe that's causing an issue. But if you go up to Salt Lake, I think people up there,
Know a lot more than what's known down in Utah County.
yeah, I think so. So, I mean, the potential for King Kabob is there.
Yeah,
I just think the location's a challenge for them.
it is. Yes.
Now, let's talk about the acquisition part, the strategic acquisition part. Just the nature of taking over an existing business, right? I mean, there's some positives and negatives to that. There's some advantages and disadvantages of taking over a business. The advantage is that it's already you already have an inventory, you already have a location, you already have, a tried and true market. You potentially might have some employees already hired. Like you already have kind of a turnkey thing. The disadvantage is that the idea is already there, right? As an entrepreneur, some people like to have a vision and go after it. But taking a company that's already built, unless you're going to, take it down to the foundation and rebuild the structure, you've purchased a job, right? You purchased somebody else's idea. I mean, what do you think about? I mean, what would you rather do? Would you rather start a business from scratch with your ideas, or purchase a already kind of put together business?
I think an already put together, because then you kind of know what they do, and you're not just, one day something works and then the next day you try it and it doesn't work. But this already has like a business model in place, and she took it over and was just able to continue what they were doing.
Yeah.
And it was, it was kind of an easy transition.
Yeah, I agree. So, and all you'd have to do at that point is make the already existing business better, put in new processes. Because in her thing, it was she took the people that owned it before were struggling because they didn't have any experience running a restaurant before, and she had a ton.
Yeah.
So her experiences in the past was able to allow her to take it and 2x it, 3x it, whatever she did to it. And so there's that. I mean,
Yeah, I think I would still
whiteboarding-
rather have it, already established. I wouldn't want to take over.
I can see both sides, whiteboarding a new company and inventing something, and also just finding a company that needs a little TLC and building it up. I can see both.
Okay, let's talk about trust and management. And this kind of brings us into the human part of it.
The human resource management.
Yeah. But also a lot of it she did talk about how trust was a big thing for her, and how they only hire people they know, in their neighborhood or their ward or local. And it's hard, but you get the people that you think that you can trust, and then it kind of bites you a little bit.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because randos off the street, you think there's a risk, right? I'm going to hire somebody off the street. They seem good in the interview, and then they turn out to be not, they lied through the interview, or they're not that good. But she hires exclusively friends and family and families, kids and people in the church and stuff like that. And those turn out to be, a risk as well.
Yeah, that was a risk. She had mentioned how she had a manager and she thought she could leave and have some time off, and came back and the place was completely destroyed.
Yeah, I wonder what that was. That's
Yeah.
one thing that I need to do better at my interviewing skills. Like when she was talking about that, I just kind of glazed over it. But I
Yeah.
should have dug in there and was like, "What do you mean?"
How
The
was
thing
it
is
done?
that I
Like
don't.
what happened? Did you know?
I'm not trying to start crap. I don't want companies to like be like, "Hey, we had this manager. His name was Mike, and he was the worst. Never hire him." So I think when I was interviewing, I glazed over it because I didn't want her to like go.
Reminisce.
Well, I don't want her to like talk crap about someone.
Yeah.
But at the same time, maybe I should ask more questions, especially if like I'm interested in to see what happened. Like, how do you build a manager to the point where they damage your company? You
Yeah.
must have done something.
Yeah.
But what would you do in that case? I mean, if we're hiring right for a job for our company, right? Like, how what do we do to make sure we maintain that trust and the motivation and keep the loyalty and keep productivity? Like, how do we do that?
Well, I've learned from past experiences being a manager myself is one, you don't hire your friends and family. That's me personally. And I know that's like a long shot and I know people do it, but and another hard thing is and I've learned it is don't become friends with your employees because then they rely on you and they kind of walk all over you to a point.
Yeah, that's the challenge of that, right? It
Yeah.
makes it awkward if you've hired your friend's kid and then you have to fire them.
Yeah.
That makes that awkward.
Yeah. It does make that a little bit awkward.
So if we made a rule, we wouldn't hire anybody that we knew, right? Nobody that's in the family or friends, right? But so we would hire people that randos.
Yeah.
And what would we do? Like, what kind of like interview would we do? Because the thing is that there's this motto that I've learned a long time ago, which is it's better to have an empty seat than the wrong person. Because I'd rather you and I work really hard by ourselves, even though we need somebody, than to have a bad person. Because you know how long it takes to get rid of a bad person.
Yeah.
You know, you're going to try to get them better, whatever. It's just going to cost a ton to get rid of that person. And, but it's an interesting case study to think like, how would that interviewing process go? What would we look for in somebody that would ultimately be productive, be loyal, you know, have
I think it would
motivation?
come down to past experience. Because I think a lot of places, I know that looking for a job, people ask for references and references, but how many times do those references get called? And a lot of times, if you call those references, it's a 50-50 chance of them being honest with you, but you still have that 50-50 chance.
Maybe this is something that we can ask the audience to put in the comments. Like,
Yeah.
what do you guys do
What would you do?
when you're looking for someone? Because as we know, once you have a good person, it's actually cheaper, even though to keep them around, right? I suggest keeping the good ones by paying more, paying what they're worth, making sure that they're taken care of, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I don't know if you know what that means, but basically what it is think of a pyramid, and the bottom thing is like the basic needs like food and shelter and things like that. And then the next level up is social needs, like making sure that you have friends and people that like you. And the next level up is the trust that you're going to have a job, things like that, right? And each one of these, if the bottom of the pyramid isn't doing well, like if you don't have any food, you really don't care about the ones above it.
Yeah.
So if you have an employee and you take care of those needs, the next level up, then that's the thing that they care about. And it keeps going up until once all of their needs are taken care of, the last tippy top of the pyramid is where, since all of your needs are taken care of, you have more energy to like invent things and to think about things
Yeah. And care. I mean, it comes down to
yeah.
caring.
But if you take care of these employees, once you have a good one, they stay around. It's cheaper at the end of the day to keep that person around than it is to constantly.
Well, and it comes down to how many times can you say, I know I've said it a million times, is I love my job. I love going to my job. I love what I do. And that comes down to one, a good manager, a good owner. But then if you have a bad manager or you have a bad owner, then you get out of bed every morning dreading to go there.
Yeah.
Like,
I know what that
I
feels like.
have to, I have to go here, and I am very underappreciated, and I hate being there. But if you build the morale and you've set the example, then people are going to want to come and work.
I think it comes down to the passion of the company. Like, you know how like when the company first starts, you guys have an idea and you guys all together want to do this thing. Like if we were to, I don't know, sell cars, you and I would be really, we would be car people, right? We'd be super into cars and that'd be our passion to do those things. But eventually you'll have employees that don't have that passion. It's probably good to invite them into that passion or make them feel like a part of the team of what that entire thing is, the entire company is moving toward, you know? As the company gets bigger, it's harder to do this, but
Yeah.
I think keeping that in mind.
But I think where King Kabob is it's a smaller business, and she's able to do that.
Yeah, she is kind of. I mean, she was having a hard time keeping people like working and not having them call in sick and take
Time off.
a ton of time off. And so she has to do most of the crappy schedules because she just can't keep people.
That want to work the hours that she needs them. Like I did like that she said that she went in and let them pick the hours that they wanted to be there. And then she kind of went back and she filled in like the crappy shifts, like the closing shifts or like that.
Kind of bites her a little bit though, right?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, it'd be interesting to figure out how she could solve for that. I mean, she has a challenge, right? She has these employees that she hires that just take whatever time off, and it causes her to not have weekends off or holidays off. She hasn't taken a
Yeah.
vacation in forever. So how would she be able to set these boundaries to be like, nope, you have to do it or else kind of a
Yeah.
thing, right? Without damaging the company. She has a little trust issues, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, can you blame her? I mean, she wanted to take her first family vacation and came back to a destroyed business almost, and
Right.
had to fix that and move forward with all of that.
And I think because of that, she went from like a democratic kind of leadership to an autocratic leadership.
Yeah.
Basically, it was a team. It sounded like a team thing, right? What days do you want off, right? It was kind of give and take. And now because she can't really trust, she's gonna have to be like, do it this way, you do it this way, you do it that way, which doesn't really build the best culture. But what do you do, right?
Yeah.
What do you do in order to solve for that problem?
I mean, it just comes, yeah, and it comes down to, having a hard time of building trust with somebody. And that's what it comes down to.
Yeah. Now, keeping a positive work environment is super important. It's important, I touched on that a little bit about keeping that culture. That's one of the reasons that a lot of people leave jobs is that the culture there is no good. You just touched on that a little bit, right? But at this point, when she were to hire people with this trust issue and how people just don't work like they used to, it'd be interesting to like understand, like we already know the issue, like, and the issue is not going to go away. So she's going to have to go in knowing people are like this. So how do you build a culture where everybody's happy, but she's also happy,
Yeah.
win-win scenario.
And that's hard.
Because I was
Because
learning in my MBA class, everybody says compromise, right? Compromise is super important. But compromise really means that everyone loses something. Like, right? That's what a compromise is.
Yeah.
In a win-win scenario, that means everybody wins no matter what. So in order to sit down and figure that out, I don't know. I'd have to get some buddies to sit around, but what she'll need to do to build a good culture while maintaining people and having them work and have her boundaries so she can take time off, that's a challenge and a half. I don't know if that's a restaurant thing or if we're going to see more companies that have this same sort of issue, but it's interesting to keep in mind when we're looking.
I think also part of it comes down to, I don't know, like age. Like I don't know. I've noticed with like our own kids, um, the difference between them and us. You and I can go work a 10-hour day and I take off the work hat and I come home and I put on like the wife mom hat. And then I still go for hours and hours at home and like watching our kids, they're like, "Oh, we went to school for like 3 hours today and then we had to go work 4 hours and like we're so tired. We can't do the dishes or we can't do this." But I think that's the difference is like the different generations and the different people, the way that we work.
Yeah, I hear that a lot. I don't know what that is.
I don't either.
Are we just crazy? Maybe they have it right.
I don't know.
Because
I just know that when like people are like, "Ugh, I worked my 4 or 5 hours today and I'm so tired and I can't do anything else." And I'm like, "You worked 4 hours today? I've put in 10 or 11 now and I'm incredibly tired, but the house isn't going to clean itself. Dinner's not going to cook itself, but you're tired. So that's what matters, I
to
guess."
be fair, our kids are pretty okay.
Yeah, our kids are okay.
I mean, Lynn works a ton,
Yeah.
and
I
Alex,
mean,
he goes to school. He's making that album. He's going to the gym.
yeah.
He's always busy. Will's always busy.
Will's busy. Trent's busy.
Yeah.
Trent works hard. Brianna works hard. Brianna,
Bria's
I don't know.
always doing stuff.
Bri has a hard job. I don't know how she does it sometimes. I mean, her job, she's nannying, and the kids that she nannies, I mean, man, she has a hard job,
Yeah.
and it wears her out. But
So to be fair, our kids are okay. Maybe
Yeah.
it's everybody else's kids are terrible.
well, it's
But I
not that they're terrible. It's just that like there's a lot of kids. So I mean, you have to look at like using like the generation, but look at where she's hiring. Like she said, I hire local. So, and this comes back to, and I know this, this happens, but like a lot of the kids that she could be hiring are BYU students, UVU students from either in state or out of state, but mom and dad are paying for everything. And then all of a sudden they have to get a job and they don't know work ethic because mom and dad have paid for everything.
Yeah.
And that may be the difference. We didn't give our kids a choice. We said, go out into the world. Here you are, little birds, fly into the world and find a job.
True.
And that's what my parents did. Like my parents didn't just hand over money when I needed it.
And it might be a little bit of you pay for what you get because BYU students, UVU students might want more money than she's willing to pay for working at that location to make any kind of profit. Because I know she was talking to me on the side and telling me that she can't just leave because if she leaves someone else to do the job, one of her employees to do the job, they don't do as well as her. So she has to hire people that to work twice as many people or have people that work twice as long. And she's like, I might as well just go in. It's cheaper for me to go in than to hire twice as many people because they're just slow and not as good.
But see, that comes back down to the trust. That comes down to the trust. I mean, how many times do you go into a place and you're like, oh, Sam's not here today. Is my food going to taste the same?
Yeah, true.
So you go in because that's where the loyalty and like, how many times do you go to the mall and you don't see her face and you're like, something happened? Is she sick? But I mean, that's what it comes down to is like the loyalty. And that's what people are looking for.
Yeah.
And if you can't build an employee to be like you or represent you when you're not there, that's a hard thing.
True. So let's move on to the next thing, which is the challenges of a business ownership. Now, what were some of the difficulties that you heard running a small business, her type of small business, like fast food? I don't know if I'd call it fast food. It's fast food, right?
Yeah.
It's more of a, I don't know. It's a mall dining. I don't know what to call it,
Yeah.
but I would call Panda Express fast food. So maybe it is fast food.
Yeah. I think some of the challenges that she had is everybody wants something different. I mean, there's that challenge. And of course you go places, but she relies on quality of the way her food tastes. And that's what brings people back is the quality that your food is. And that's what she relies on. and people coming in and making special orders is not something that she does. She
Yeah.
doesn't fry food for them, or she doesn't make special things. Like, you come in and you order a euro, she's going to make it for you because she's expecting you to take it and eat it, not wait for hours to eat it.
Well, she has a specific recipe that she's tried and true. And when people mess up that recipe, she doesn't know what it's going to taste like.
Yeah.
She knows, like if you were to make pork chops, right? That's pork chops we make all the time. And then one of our kids says, "Hey, can you add bacon and onions to it?" I don't know if it's going to taste like the
It's not going to be the
pork
same.
nuts, and so she has a brand she's selling, and she doesn't want to mess up that recipe by just doing whatever, right?
And she mentions that, like, how many times do you go to other places? Like, I think she used like
In and Out.
In and Out as an example, and Carl's Jr. as an example. Do you go into those places and say, I don't want it this way, that you've been doing it for
Right.
years and years? Do you say, make it this way, and I want it completely different? I mean, they're going to tell her no.
Right.
They're going to tell you no. I mean, I can't walk into somewhere and be like, make me that with every vegetable that you have.
Or make me a burger, but I want French fries on the burger, and
Yeah.
then could you like douse it in a chocolate shake?
Yeah.
They're gonna be like, order what's on the menu, buddy.
Yeah. And do that yourself. I mean, how many, you can't do a special order for every person, or
Right.
it would mess up like the whole business dynamic.
A couple things. It would mess up the brand because but it would also raise the cost. Like all that costs some money, all those pieces, and so if she keeps adding it, she's gonna have to raise the cost. But they want it for the same price that it says on the menu. One of the things I was thinking about on the small business side, though, the difficulty of running a small business is the small business itself. You can see with her, there's things that a small business lacks that a big corporation doesn't lack, which is like resources and money and time, right? Like she's got to be very conscious and conscious of the resources she has and how much things cost. She has to supply her own supply chain. She's got to find her own vendors to purchase all that meat and things like that. But that is something that if you were a bigger company, you would have people to be able to do that for you, not the owner so much, right? And so, and the reason that she does is because it cuts into cost to get somebody else to do it. So
it's easy
running
for
a small
her.
business, there's some things to worry about, right? There's advantages and disadvantages, and this is one of the disadvantages I feel, is that you have to be like really careful about your cash flow. You've got to be very careful about your competition, things like that, because you can get demolished pretty quick.
Well, and that was another thing that she said, is like she keeps costs down. I mean, she goes to Sam's Club and buys her stuff that way because that keeps costs down. And it keeps, helping other people. But you go and you shop local, and shopping local helps keep costs down, especially for these small businesses that can't use like huge corporations or things like Cisco or US Foods to bring in all their food and supplies, because that's costly. And if she needs small things, like you order from these bigger places, like I've said, you get more quantity. And with that, there's waste. But if she goes to like Sam's Club every day, she can get the amount that she needs. And she doesn't have to get 4 or 5 pound bags of lettuce or something like that. She can get, smaller bags of things.
That's a good point. Another thing sometimes it is a volume game. Like if I were to buy 5 pallets of lettuce, I could probably get it for a discount.
Yeah, you could.
I don't know if she's going to be able to sell 5 pallets of lettuce, right?
Yeah.
And so if it was a volume game, like if it was like I'm selling a crap ton of something, so I can buy a whole bunch for cost and now I can sell it for a normal price and make that profit. If she's buying this stuff at MSRP, just whatever we would buy it at Costco, and then turn around and sell it, she's got to uptick that cost to make a profit. So what we're paying for is the service of her putting those pieces together for us in that recipe order.
Yes.
So,
Well, it'd also be harder saying, like we said, she shops at Sam's Club, but if she shopped at these bigger places, what's the chance of her losing money
oh yeah, I see what
by
you're saying.
product going bad?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, I worked in like that where like you don't have a busy week and you have 20 pounds of lettuce that needs to be used, but it's been a slow week. You only have, you know, 3/4 of your normal business. And then at the end of the day, at the end of the week, you're like, I still have 10 pounds of lettuce and now it's going brown and soggy and I haven't used it. And that, that cuts into cost because now you cost and you've lost money.
Yeah, absolutely. You're losing that, and it's gonna. Yeah, I see what you're saying. But this is why, with a small company, it's super important to make sure that everything you're doing is as efficient as possible.
Yeah.
You got to get your processes down. As a big company, you can probably, not worry about it as much. I mean, there are processes and whatnot, but when you're this small, you've got to have, processes, and you've got to have systems of efficiency. She's got, and you saw it with her restaurant. Everything is in like a perfect order. She cuts it. She has the oven or the thing that she heats the meat right next to it. And she has a vegetable, it's just a line. Mm-hmm. She follows that line straight to the cash register. Everything is efficient.
Everything's in
orderly.
order. Yes.
Now we talked about the work-life balance. It's tough as a small company, especially I guess with this industry. She's not the first restaurant person I've talked to. I've had a lot of friends who open restaurants, and all of them say, "You want to open a restaurant? Do you hate yourself? Don't do that.
Why would you want to do that to yourself?
All you're doing is working extremely hard, and you're razor thin margins. Like you're barely making a profit. You're paying for your bills, but that's about it. Like you're not getting ahead of the curve."
Well, I think there's things like she's missed out on, like working all the time, and you have family, and it's hard to have that balance of being like, I need to be home for this amount of time, but who's going to fill my shoes while I'm not there? You
can't.
Yeah.
So you're a slave to the company.
Yeah. And that's hard.
That's tough. That's why you see a lot of those Asian restaurants where they have their family there.
Yeah,
like
where the family's
just
there.
Lives there because what are you going to do? You have to raise your kids.
Yeah.
And
a lot of people, raise their kids where they are. And if you have to be because you can't trust someone, so where do you have your kids all the time? Right there with you, And that's a balance of like having to like work with balance in life and that.
Like, what would you do in her shoes? Like, how would you set those boundaries to get a better work-life balance?
I think that I would want to make sure that when I'm hiring, because this goes back to the hiring of, I want to hire somebody that is trainable. And I think it'll come down to, and I know a lot of people don't like it, but it was one thing I had to adjust to is putting cameras in those places. Like you want to see what your employees are doing. And then if you have to go back and critique anywhere, then you have that. And you'll be like, hey, we talked about this, but you're doing things your way. And there's a way that we do things. So, I think that if it came down to it and I had young kids and running a business, my kids would be right there with me. And I know that would be hard, but you always have to rely too, is you have to rely on family.
Yeah.
And that's hard.
She's been doing it a long time, so I'm sure she's not dumb, and a lot of things that we're saying is like probably perfect scenario, right?
Yeah.
We don't know as well as she does how hard it is. I think I agree with you with the cameras, only for the fact that like you could do one-on-ones with your staff, and you could probably do a survey of some sort. I know surveys rarely people take them, but if you have surveys and you get enough bad, you can at least review some of the footage and help use that as a training device. It adds more time to you. I just think that one of the things is, personally, and again, I don't know her business that well, but going from my experience is that I'm going to tell a little story and I'll come back, okay? Like, I am the best at keeping the yard nice. I edge it. I mow it. I make sure that the blade on the mower is sharp. I test the water pH balance. I sometimes put cups out on the lawn and make sure that the water is hitting in certain locations. It takes a lot of time to keep the yard as nice as it is. But I could pay Billy down the street $10. He won't do it as good as me, but I freed up my entire day.
Well, yeah.
And that's kind of, I mean, take that analogy, right? The people she hires aren't going to be as good as her, right? But she frees up a ton of time if she allows somebody else to do it not as well. Now, she can come in and coach and she can train and she can help, but her doing it all, it's a famous like a pothole that most managers fall into. Delegation.
Yeah.
A lot of people are like, I do it better than them. Why would I assign it to somebody else? I could do it twice as fast and twice as better. Well, here's the thing. If you have 5 people doing it not as well as you have 5 people and you can stop doing it.
Well, that's a thing that comes back to being a mom. I have that same problem here at the house. I have a lot of people be like, do you know how many hands you have at the house? Do you have any hands that could help you do the dishes? Do you have any hands you have that could help you cook dinner? And I'm like, well, yeah, I have a lot of hands that could do things, but I would rather do it myself than I know that it's getting done right. Or I can let someone else do it. And then what happens? I have to go back and redo it.
That's a risk, but I'm telling you, it's one of the things that people fail at most as management. The first time you become a manager, it's hard because a lot of times what happens is, why did you become manager? Because you were probably the best worker, right? And so they elevated you to manager. Well, you were really good at working, but you suck at management because you just started. You just started being a manager. So when it gets hard and you don't know what to do, you just kind of slip back into the role of working. And so you're really good at working, you're fast, you know how to do your job, you're just better than everybody. But the company needs a manager. It needs somebody to lead, to coach, and stuff like that. So you need to walk out of that role. You need to stop doing that grunt work. Even though you're the best and the fastest, you need to delegate. Because once you delegate, you can start coaching people and you can start making sure results get hit, KPIs get hit. And you can't do that when you're working all day.
No.
I've seen it time and time and time again. That delegation thing really, really hurts people. So let's move on to product integrity and brand management, because branding is a big thing I've been talking about for the last couple of episodes. Hopefully I'll stop talking about it. It's kind of a major thing when it comes to small companies. But I think one of the things that I just learned, because I'm in a class right now called Business Strategies, and it's only in chapter 1, so you'll have to bear with me a little bit, is just balancing your innovation and maintaining the core product. Meaning, if a company does not innovate constantly, their competition is going to destroy you. If you're not innovating, if you're not making new things, using new technologies, getting more efficient, using different things like that, your company is going to, somebody else is going to figure it out and do it quicker than you or faster than you or have more cooler things than you. But it takes time to innovate. It takes, you have to be able to have time to be able to whiteboard these things and come up with new recipes and new things like that, right? But again, if you're working all day long and not being able to step out of the kitchen, you're not going to be able to innovate, right? And I think that's one of the things that her company is going to struggle with, because that is a good restaurant and they have competitive advantage. Nobody makes Greek food, right?
Yeah.
Not in this area. But what if somebody did,
And
right?
there's that competition.
But how is she going to be able to keep up with her competition if she's constantly working,
Yeah.
right? So that's going to be a challenge for them in the future, I feel. I only have a few other things, and then we can wrap it up, I think.
Okay. We talked about this a little bit. We touched about the trust and the loyalty.
Okay.
And like I am a person of small businesses.
Me too.
I mean, look around us in Utah County. There's a million places that you can go for food, and you can go for drinks, and you can go get all of this stuff. But I am so drawn back to small businesses
Why so? Why do you think? Why do you do it?
because I don't know, I grew up that way. Like I worked for a small business, and it's a loyalty thing. Like how many times do you go into a big corporation? And I mean, I can use an example here in Spanish Fork. There's a business. I'm not going to say any names. I went in there, mornings I would go in there. And I'm like, man, I sure am getting treated like crap every time that I come in here. Like not a good morning, how are you? Like just give me your stuff, ring it up and get out. But then I'm like, why do I go here? And then I found out, years there's a gas station here in Spanish Fork, family owned. They make their own food. They have coffee. They have donuts. Like they have this, but you walk in and it's so personable. They want to know how you are. They want to know how's work. They want to know. They sit and talk to you at the register. It doesn't matter how many people are coming in and out. You can have a whole conversation. But it comes down to the corporate life. You're there to make money. And then it comes down to the family life. Like you can walk into some places and feel like a number. And that's how I felt at the one store. And I probably go there once a month if needed. There's another store, the other store that I go to here in town. I go every morning. Every morning. I'm a very loyal person and they know me.
Maybe we should interview them next.
Yeah. But I mean, it comes down to small business.
Yeah.
And you go where you feel comfortable.
Yeah. Big difference for me when it comes to small companies, to be honest, is the pride in their work. They're not so money driven. They're more passion driven. Like that guy that fixed our garage.
Yeah.
After working with that corporation to do it, and they tried to nickel and dime us. This guy just came in and fixed it, charged $100 and was gone. Mm-hmm. And he was like, "It'll never break again." Like, awesome,
Yeah, those are the kind of, but you have to build that trust.
You do.
Like talking about the garage door, a young 23-year-old came. He had a family to support. I understood all of that. He gives me a outrageous price. And it was, can you get a hold of your husband? And I think that, and you were at school and doing your MBA stuff. I think that night I called you 10 times because he was like, did you get a hold of him? Did you get a hold of him? And then the next morning, we weren't happy with the price. I call this small business and somebody shows up and charges us $100.
Yeah, that guy was cool.
And they fixed our problem.
Mm-hmm.
And there was no pressure. And that is loyalty.
Yeah. The pride in their work.
And he was,
Again,
and he knew his.
He was telling me they're not rich because they don't nickel and dime. He was like, we could screw people and barely fix it and then have to come out again and charge you again.
Yeah.
They could do the stuff that the big companies do, but they don't want to. And so I really like that with smaller companies.
I do too.
Let's talk about the declining mall traffic. That's something that I don't know how to fix on that side, right? Like, just what factors do you think with Provo Mall is causing that traffic to decline? What do you think?
I don't know. Like, every time somebody says we're going to the mall and they're like, hey, we haven't been to the Provo Mall in a while. And I'm like, why would you want to go there?
Do you think it comes down to management? The Orem Mall is doing well, but they're doing all kind of innovations, like I was talking about, right? They added that bowling alley, they added those like ball pits and the miniature golf thing, like, and then they have all those ice cream places around. It's like a almost a family event to go to the mall at this point, right?
Well,
It's
yeah. But you think about the Provo Mall. The Provo Mall used to be booming like that. But and then I am under the under impression I'm not I mean, just a little bit of speculation. I'm under the impression new owners. I don't know anything about like the new people, but like speaking with past businesses, because I mean, we used to go to the mall all the time and there was game stores and there was
it's pretty full. Used to have
like it used to be full, and then all of a sudden these small businesses are being ran out because the rent was too high. Like it was, I mean, one of our favorite places to go, and we met one of our like best friends there is when we went and got our hair cut at the mall. But slowly and slowly, a bigger corporation comes in and takes over and raises the rent and raises things, and you lose all of that morale.
yeah.
So I mean, it made the mall not the same.
But there's like plenty of malls we go to. We go to the West Valley Mall. We go to the ones up in Salt Lake.
And they're booming.
And they're doing fine. So there's got to be, and it's not like Provo's a small town.
Yeah.
Like it's got to be something. I don't think
I think it comes
management
down to management of the mall.
of that mall is doing like I don't know if they're like they can do it. I think I don't know. It seems like it could be done. You
Yeah, it
could
could.
make that mall much better. But there's that one, and I already talked to the owner. There's that Dungeons and Dragons store in there.
Yeah.
And I talked to the owner. I think I'm going to be doing an interview with him coming up. But they are taking advantage of a lot of stuff. They got all of those like that farmers market thing started. They pulled in a lot of like they had a knight battling arena thing in there. There's all these things that they are starting. Like they're doing that the largest Dungeon and Dragon thing in the world, Guinness Book thing. Like they're pulling in things. If the management
Could see it.
do stuff like if they're actively trying to do things to get people in, I'm sure they're trying, but I don't think they're trying very hard.
Well, I
I
mean,
think
but
the only thing that they really do is they have that big sign up there that right next to the freeway that says, "Hey, please come in here."
Yeah.
But they're not doing anything to advertise or do
I think one of the
something.
things that, I don't know, me personally, I was excited that there was going to be a Target at the Provo Mall. I was excited for that. And then you go, but why on earth would I want to go to Target and then I have to leave the mall completely? And this is one thing she talked about because that's part of foot traffic is they built a wall and cut Target off from the mall. And before I felt like when there was a different store there, you could go into that store, but you're never leaving the mall. You still have that foot traffic to where you can go in and around the mall, and it was blocked off. So, I mean, that takes probably over half of the customers that could be going into Target. They could come out and venture through the mall.
But I think the
But
mall
instead-
could do something. They could put, I don't know, big picture. They could put like a moving walkway
Yeah.
to help people get to the mall. They could do stuff to promote ways for the target people to come this direction,
Yeah.
right? But I think it's not so much that people don't want to go to Target and then walk over to the mall. I think what's the point? What's in the mall?
Nothing. The
Right.
only big
Why
corporation
would I go to
thing.
Target and then go to an empty mall?
Yeah. The only big corporation thing that I see at the mall anymore is J.C. Penney's.
That's the last like staple.
And that's like the big, huge thing. Mm-hmm. But
then they have the movie theater.
the movie theater. But how many people go to the one side of the mall, the movie theater,
Yeah.
but they don't adventure out?
I think it's mall management. I think
it comes down to
if I
management.
went in there, I could figure something out to make that mall better.
Yeah,
right?
but-
they need to at least visit the Orem Mall and get some ideas because what they're doing is not working.
How often do you go to the Provo Mall and it's empty, and then you turn around and go to the Orem Mall and you can barely move in the Orem Mall because there's so many people in the Orem Mall?
Yeah, it's not like malls are dead.
No.
I've been when I went to the Mall of Asia out in the Philippines. completely packed. When we went to Nashville,
Yeah,
that mall
completely
was
packed.
super packed.
Oh, yeah.
The mall in Florida, packed. It's like I said, Provo's not a small town. It's just the
It comes
management's
down to
not
management.
doing something, right?
Well, that where I said,
I blame them.
one of our favorite stores that we went into every time, like we would go to the mall just to go to a game store. And it went from like, I think it had from the time that we started going, that you and I've been together in the first like 6 year, 7 year span that we knew, I think it had 4 to 5 locations in the mall because rent kept changing and they had to go from like to a smaller and smaller and smaller area until they were completely driven out of the mall.
Like, again, I don't know anything about that industry, but
Yeah.
just looking at the variables here, Orem and Provo, pretty same size. All the other cities that we go to, pretty same size.
Yeah.
The other malls are figuring it out. I know that there's a whole like e-commerce thing. Like people would rather go order it on Amazon or have it delivered. But the other malls are working.
Yeah.
So something's happening, right? And the Provo Mall has all that real estate open. They could do something. They could put bowling alleys in there. They could be doing something to make it more appealing to family, especially since this is Utah and people have kids everywhere, or make it attractive to college students. I mean, there's a ton of colleges
There's
right
a
here.
lot.
I don't know. I'm going to stop talking about it because it makes me upset that
Yeah.
I don't like when people suck.
Yeah.
Anyway, last thing I want to talk about a little bit, unless, do you have something to bring?
I just want to say how when you go to King Kabob, because I mean, sometimes we go to the mall, we don't always order, but we can always stop, and it's such a friendly atmosphere.
King Kabob?
Always a friendly atmosphere at King
Kabob?
Kabob. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Even if we don't eat there, like I'm saying, there are times that I'm going to be completely honest and transparent. I don't like Greek food, but it's your favorite place.
I love it.
And so we walk by, you order, we stand and talk to them for a while. But the nice thing is even though I don't order things, they still engage with me and treat me like I'm someone special, even though I'm not spending money with them.
Yeah.
And that's an amazing thing, is the personality and is the personableness of it.
Yeah.
And that's why people go back.
They're super sweet people. But I would super encourage, even though you don't like Greek food because you're crazy, Greek food is the best food. If you haven't tried King Kabob, you should.
Yeah.
Like, you should at least try it one time. I mean, just get a gyro. Like, this is what I do. This is the item I always get. I always get the gyro. I always get hot sauce. You don't have to do hot. But I always get it with like those little, what are those?
Pepperoncinis.
Not the pepperoncinis, those little green, like, they're not peppers, but they're called peppers. Banana peppers, that's what they are. I get the banana peppers, the lettuce, the spinach. But it normally comes with onions and tomatoes. I don't get the onions and tomatoes. But just those things, it comes on a pita that's warmed up. You saw how big those sandwiches are.
I mean, I've watched you eat it. You usually have to eat half of it.
You have to eat
out
half
of it
with a
before you
fork,
can eat it.
before you can pick it up and eat it. 'Cause the sandwich is so... My mouth is watering right now just thinking about it. But those sandwiches are so good. That meat is so tender and just like... Oh, it's so good. But then not only that, she has the candies. She's got, the baklava and stuff like that. But again, it's one of those things. It's kind of like pho, where you eat it and you're not like grossly full, but you're full, but you're not. You feel full, but you don't feel disgusting.
Yeah, because it's healthy.
Because it's healthy food.
Because she's and she mentions this, and that's something is like Greek food is healthy. Mm-hmm. It's not fatty. It's not any of that. It's a healthy food. And that's another thing is you serve healthy food, you bring those health nuts back. Mm-hmm. Because it's like, oh, this is something healthy and I can eat this. And that's where like the loyalty and the customers that come back day after day.
Absolutely.
Is how many times can you say, I'm going to go have something healthy instead of having something fried?
Right.
And that's where you get your loyalty from.
But again, if you're listening to this, treat yourself. Go to the Provo Mall, go upstairs, and get a gyro. You gotta try it. It's super amazing. And I don't know, if you're like me, you'll get hooked. I know at my old job, because we liked it so much, we would have it catered in every week. Because we got everybody kind of hooked on it. But I would highly suggest it. Maybe
Even
you
if you
should try the
don't eat-
shawarma. I know you don't like the gyro. but
Even if
maybe-
you don't eat Greek food, go for the conversation because she's amazing.
You should try the shawarma. Like you don't like the gyro. Maybe you like the shawarma. Maybe we should try that next time.
Honest opinion, maybe if I try it, I would love it. It's just maybe the thought of it, and
just
I
don't
need
like
to
the
get
lamb?
past my thinking.
Yeah.
Lamb, yes, because I've
that
had
the
so much
problem?
bad lamb everywhere else, other places that I'm like,
You're just wary.
but maybe it's a fear I have, and maybe I just need
Maybe you
to
should-
break my fear.
Maybe- you know what we should do? Let's go get it tomorrow.
Okay.
And you can try mine. But anyway, so that's it. King Kabob. That's my points. I had one last thing about economic trends, but this is already an hour long.
Yeah.
So I think we should cut it there. What place, after talking to the people that we've talked to so far, what would be a place that you would be interested in interviewing next?
Give us your thoughts.
I'm asking you.
You're asking me?
Yeah, what would be interesting to you?
I don't know. There's so many interesting. I think the next place that I would really love, I think it's time to I think you have it set up, but I want to know what a tattoo artist does. Yeah. I want to know from start to finish. Because I know that when I went and got my tattoo a few years ago, I gave her what I wanted and she critiqued this simple picture that I had into something amazing. And she did it for me and the girls. But I want to know a tattoo artist's thought process because obviously they have to be artists.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't just
run a business.
Can't just pick up a pen and be like, I'm going to do tattoos today and do it. You have to be somewhat artistic. And I would like to know how they do it. I think that's next.
Well, if anybody knows a tattoo art, or a tattoo company or somebody that owns a tattoo place and wanted to hook us up to talk to somebody, that's a cool one. I think I would be interested in talking to, again, I'm still wanting to find somebody that's run a franchise. I think talking to that person and figuring out how to start a franchise would be super awesome.
That would be.
But I don't know. There's a coffee shop up here, but I don't think it's a franchise. Maybe I can go ask around. But if anybody knows anybody that runs and owns a franchise and runs and owns a tattoo parlor, I think that would be awesome if you guys can hook us up. You can send us information through our comments, and we can look them up, I guess.
Text messages.
Text messages.
You're not going to hurt our feelings. Tell us your thoughts. Tell us how you feel about what we do.
We don't have an email or a phone number set up for this yet, so the only way they can talk to us is through the comments. At this point, I'm setting up a website right now. It's pretty ugly. I need help with that, but I'm setting up a website where we can get more comments.
But in your comments, be honest. Don't sugarcoat things. You're not going to hurt. Dan and I, sometimes we have feelings. Sometimes we don't. A lot of times we don't.
Here's the thing. I can dish it, but I can't take it. If you're mean to me, I will cry. I'm just kidding.
I will not. I will give it right back.
Just make fun of me.
No.
All right, so that's it. I think that's a thing.
Let's wrap it up.
The little teaser for the next one is I interviewed a guy who is a doctor who has been creating hearing aids for the last 30 years. Really interesting conversation with him about how he got that business started decades ago and how it kind of correlates to how businesses get started now. So that's going to be our next episode next week. Until then,
we're out.
Thanks all. Bye.
Thanks.